This is Out of Office Era, a podcast where we're unpacking real conversations about the things we love, the places that we go, and the people that we're becoming. I'm your host, Janelle Rupp-Calvis, a travel and lifestyle content creator that shares both the beautiful moments and the behind the scenes on the internet. But this is the space where we're going to dive deeper. You know those people who somehow manage to work full-time and run a successful side hustle? Today's guest is one of those people. Raimee is a travel creator with a thriving presence online and has a full-time corporate job. In this episode, we're going to talk about how she balances deadlines from both jobs, how she built her brand while keeping her 9 to 5, and what she does to avoid burnout, and of course, some of her favorite travel hacks because she is also a travel creator. So if you've wondered how to grow your side hustle without quitting your job or how to use your PTO without losing your mind, this one's for you. Welcome, Raimee.
Yay, I'm so excited, Janelle. This is so great. I told you when you launched this podcast, I thought you would be perfect to do podcasting, so I'm very excited to be on the show.
That's so sweet of you. I know I've had a podcast in my mind for years. Felt like, and when I was trying to come up with like the full concept and the guests, you were of course one of the first people that came to mind because let's get into like what you do for actual work. But I was going to kind of tease it there. You have worked in the podcast space before. You're a travel creator yourself, so I feel like you just kind of have a full, well-rounded knowledge of all of these spaces. But most people, I think, if they saw you online, wouldn't realize that you have a full-time job because you have a massive presence online in the travel space. You have like built this travel brand from scratch, online, and people would just probably think you're a full-time creator, especially with how much you travel and what you do. So what do you do for your full-time career? How did you build this like travel space? Explain like kind of what your page is for people who might not follow you.
Yeah. Okay. I know. Whenever I mention briefly, like, oh, and I'm here for my real job, I say my real job, but they're both full-time
Real
jobs,
jobs.
as you know. But yeah, my full-time nine to
Yeah.
five job is at a media company. It's at a company called Onomy, and I've been working with them for almost 4 years now. I originally got hired there to write content for their website, and then it turned into producing podcasts for actors, talent, different content creators. So I was doing that for, I would say, 2 years. And then in the most recent iteration of the company, because we're kind of a startup, changing all the time, adjusting with
Yeah.
the crazy media industry. Now I'm doing talent sourcing for brand campaigns and for our own like media talent agency that we run. So it's really interesting because I see both sides from the
Yeah.
creator lens, and that also helps me, relate to creators and kind of give other creators background info on brand campaigns, what's working, who's searching for talent right now. It's a very interesting space to be in, but it is definitely a lot of work from both sides, especially
Yeah.
because they have started to blend together. So,
Yeah, which is
yeah.
kind of crazy that like you started out just kind of in the more media podcasting side. Like, did you ever have a podcast at all at any
I
point?
No, I did not.
Okay.
I was frequently a guest on a lot of the shows we
Oh, yes. Yeah.
produced, but the funny thing is, and I mean, this is kind of going back to your question, like how I started the whole creator thing while
Yeah.
having this job. I only started my channels 3 years ago now. So
Wow.
I had been working at Onomy for a year before even posting my first TikTok.
I didn't
But
realize that. That's kind
yeah,
of
but the
crazy.
reason the reason I decided to finally do it is because we were working with so many content creators, and I had this like, I guess it's a limiting belief before, like I could never do that. Those people are really special. Something worked out for them that wouldn't work out for me. And then I started meeting other creators through my job, and I realized, oh, these are just normal people that are cool and nice and normal like me. Wait,
Yeah.
maybe I could do it. And that's when I started posting.
Wow. So did you always know you wanted to be in the travel space specifically, or what landed you there?
Yes. So prior to this job, I worked for a big travel blogger, and I talk about that a lot. I worked for Nomadic Matt for
Oh
4 years.
yeah. I
Yeah.
knew that too. I forgot about that. Wow.
Yeah, so that's kind of how, I mean, I've always been obsessed with travel, like since I was
Yeah.
a teenager. So when I got my job with Nomadic Matt, that to me was like, this is my dream job. I'm working in the travel industry. I get to travel, but I don't have to put myself out there and be perceived by people, right?
Yeah.
So I did have, a ton of travel experience. And in the back of my mind, I thought it would be cool to be doing that as my own business, but again, I just thought it was never going to happen for me.
So talk about building then like your own, like what was that leap that you took from starting your business or from deciding you want to start posting online to then actually like building this travel brand? What did that look like? How did that start? Did it people
Ooh,
can blow up overnight. So I don't know
yeah.
if yours was like a slow burn or what was that like?
Yeah, oh my gosh, it's actually funny. And this is why I tell people, you hear this advice all the time, just start posting. Like, you don't really have to have a plan at first. And my story very much shows that because TikTok had started coming up in what, 2020, 2021.
Yeah.
And, I kind of thought it was a silly app at first, like we all did. But then I started realizing, like, okay, there's something here. What do I have to say in the world? And I didn't even really consider travel because 2020, 2021 no one
You're
was
not
traveling.
traveling. Yeah.
We couldn't travel. So
Yeah.
I actually started my account posting about film and TV reviews. And I was like talking
Oh,
about my
crazy.
favorite Harry Potter movies and like anime shows that I liked. And nothing happened. Like those videos maybe got 500 views and I didn't really care.
Yeah.
Um, but I took my first post COVID trip in, I think it was the end of 2021 or early 2022. I went to Greece and I finally was internationally traveling again. So I was super excited. And I made like a little review video of the Greek islands. That did kind of blow up overnight. I think it got like 4 million views. And I was
Wow.
like, oh, okay, wait, I love talking about travel. Travel's coming back. Maybe I should
Yeah.
keep on this path and not talk about the film and movie stuff, even though that's another passion of mine. But it's just like, I started getting used to the platform, learning how it worked,
Yeah.
getting comfortable talking in front of the camera. And then I think that ultimately led to like, yes, one video kind of like blew me up, but
Totally.
I was trying before that.
Yeah, and I think that like people don't realize that. I love this saying where it's like it takes 10 years to become an overnight success because people think that
That,
it is just like, I remember the cucumber guy who did the I want to eat an entire cucumber video and like doing all of
yeah,
this. I forget his name, but people talking about how, he just started showing up on your For You page and doing all these things, but he had been a creator, I
yeah,
guess, for years before that. And so many people have those experiences where then all of a sudden one video or a series of
yeah,
videos starts picking up momentum, whether that's their style has changed or maybe the media landscape has changed where their style is more like prominent or in style. I don't, it just kind of depends. But it's just interesting to me because I think that is so true that even though it wasn't a direct correlation to travel, you were learning how the app worked, how the
yeah,
editing worked, how to tag things and hashtag and just like more
exactly.
strategy, the back end things, and how that works and like getting your style down, which is always evolving, of course. I
Yeah.
love your recent videos, by the way, too. That style's so fun that
Thank
you've been editing
you.
with, but it's just like people think that it just kind of happens overnight. You just pop up online and all these videos are amazing and well produced and whatnot, but it is all of these like little instances. I talk about this for myself. I filmed weddings on the side for a number of years, and that I
I
feel
didn't
like,
even know that. And you did
yeah,
fitness stuff too. Like it's like,
yes,
and it all
yeah.
turns into now. Yeah.
Exactly. I was posting like fitness stuff on this was back when I was in like the bodybuilding days and I was like getting used to social media apps, but then that was all photos still. Like I was on
Hmm.
Instagram posting fitness stuff before Instagram stories even existed.
Yes.
So like I was getting used to it and trying to understand what that was like. But then, I switched over to video. That was so much more natural for me, but I had all that
Yes.
experience from filming weddings of like what's B-roll? Like how do you put
Hmm.
a full like video together, and obviously those are way more produced than what my like TikTok content is, but it's still like fundamentals that you can learn and carry through.
Totally. That actually I didn't know that and that makes so much sense because I've always thought your editing and your B-roll is super good. So now it makes sense
Oh,
because
that's funny. Yeah.
people ask and you probably get these questions too like, "Well, how do you know what to film? How do you know what to make?" And it just takes years of trial and error, doing random things like and
Yeah.
it's constantly evolving. Like if you probably looked back at either of our videos from 2022, completely different than what we do now.
Yeah. And like the
Yeah.
internet landscape was different. I was even looking at a creator who
Yeah.
was talking about how like remember that period of time we were all using the crazy filters that TikTok was
Yes.
putting up, but like part of it too is TikTok I'm sure was promoting those filters in a way so you're going to like
Yep.
you're going to use the filters cuz those are popular on the app and like it's just kind of it's an era. It's just like
It
every
is,
like
wow. I
fashion
kind of
eras.
forgot about that. That's so
Yeah,
funny.
and, like, the voice filter, that was really popular. So, like, yeah, you go back and it's like, well, that was the internet at the time. We were all kinda learning.
Yes.
Michelle, the LAX advice to luxury travel creators. She just posted like a video on her stories. She was like, "Oh, I remember the date like when she started on TikTok
I
where you could
saw
just
this.
post a rant like just the easiest video, single shot, like not even
Hmm.
that in focus or like whatever, and it got like 4 to 8 million views or whatever she had said." And I was like,
Crazy.
"Oh my god, that was the days where you could just like literally post the video is like her getting out of bed, showing her feet, walking out of this like hotel room in like the Maldives or something, and then just like showing panning up to the pool and the view, and
And it was like
that's the
not in
video."
focus. Yeah, and it
Yes,
was
it
like
was like
not.
kind of like the camera. I don't think was like been wiped off or something. Like
Yeah,
it was, but that got millions of views, and like that was what was happening
crazy.
at the time. So I think the internet landscape also changes. So you can't really like judge your past
No,
content either. But
exactly.
when you're trying to like create and putting yourself out there is one of the hardest parts, and then you just kind of get used to it too. I feel like,
Yes, it was very, very difficult for me. I actually like remembered blocking my friends and family from home on my
yeah.
TikTok account because I was just like, I don't want them to see it. They've all since been unblocked, but at first I was like, I
Yeah.
just want this to go out to random people. Like, I don't want
Yeah.
anyone judging me, even though who cares?
Right. But did you also do that with your coworkers, or how did you start talking about that at work? Did you hide it at all? Like what was your strategy? Or did you even like have to hide it? I don't know, your industry might be different.
Yeah, I think at first I didn't really expect it to like take off. I thought maybe I could make a little bit of a side income from doing it because I was seeing these creators, make all this extra money and I was like, well, I could try to make something. So at first
Yeah.
my coworkers didn't really care because it was such a small thing at first, right? And
Yeah.
they kind of always thought of it as an asset too since we were working with creators. They were like, "Oh yeah, like Raimee, if you have credibility in the space, then that helps us work with more people,
Yeah.
because they can relate to you." So they always did think of it as an asset and never, told me not to do it or anything, which
Yeah.
is a key. And I think something I would want to say in this is, yeah, not every job might be okay with something like this, especially if you are talking about your job a lot. Some companies might not want that. I feel like I
Mhm.
toe the line really well where I mention I have a job or I mention I'm
Yeah.
traveling while working, but I don't like talk about the company. I don't really even
Mm-mm.
mention their name often. So,
No.
so that's kind of like how I was doing it initially too. And then I would say the past 2 years is really when I've been struggling with should I leave my job, right? And we
Yeah.
can get into that question too, because I'd love to hear your perspective of like when you decided you should leave. And I've felt at that point for a while, but there's a couple reasons why I've kept my job and stayed in it, and we can get into that.
Yeah, let's get into that. I've got a few questions about you with both jobs first, and then
Yeah,
I'd love to get into that topic because that's something that
cool.
I've done too. But with having both jobs, how do you manage them like in real time? What does your calendar actually look like when you're managing like your corporate job and your content creator side? Because the other thing with being a content creator, we have to travel most of the time
Yes.
for jobs. It's not like beauty creators where they could literally film 10 paid ads in their room or in their house and not have to leave. Like we most of the time are traveling for some way, shape, or form,
Yeah.
whether it's an airline, a destination, both. So that cuts into how you manage that with your real life.
Yeah, okay. It's I People ask me this a lot and I wish I had a really awesome answer, but okay, so first off, my PTO. I obviously use every single day that I can and I
Yes.
really map out my calendar at the beginning of the year for any personal trips I need to take, but I also leave things very open-ended because like you
Mm.
said with our travel content stuff, sometimes opportunities come up days before. And
Yes. Literally
so
days. Like it's like, can you leave
literally,
in 2 days?
yeah.
Tomorrow. Like
Like I told you today, I'm like, "Oh, I'm going to London this afternoon." Like that was a very last minute thing. But
yeah.
but I keep my schedule and my calendar open with work stuff. I don't plan out a lot of stuff knowing that that will happen. And I have worked my way up from when I initially got hired, I had 10 days of vacation and luckily I wasn't doing content at that point, so I was like
Yeah. And
able to
people
work
weren't
with that.
traveling as much back then either because of
Exactly.
COVID timing.
Now I have 4 PTO weeks off. So like
Okay.
that's 20 days I can work with in, and add on weekends and stuff. So I
Totally.
try to take that PTO as, I use all of it when I have to do these travel trips. So that's
Yeah.
one scheduling thing. But of course there's other times where like I have to be doing actual work on these work
Mhm.
brand trips. And that happens
Yeah.
much more often than me taking time off. Like, I'm going to be in London and Paris for the next 6 days. I'm going to be working at the same time. And this is where time zones come in handy because
Mhm.
if I'm in Europe, I can do all my like brand shoot stuff in the morning for my Raimee travel. And then at night, I can log on, talk to my team, answer those emails when it's morning in America. So
Yeah.
that has been super helpful, you know, managing the time zones. And I will also say, like, I do not think every job needs you to be working 40 hours a week. I definitely don't. And I'm
Yeah.
not afraid to admit that. Like, that's also how I balance my schedule because I'm not slaving away at this corporate job. Like, no,
Yeah.
I've never been the type of person to do that. Sorry, any future employers. But if I get my work done, it doesn't matter when or where I'm doing it from,
Yeah.
especially, you know, the type of industry I'm in.
Yeah.
So
You don't
I've
need to
just
be sitting in
never.
front of a computer to, like, log and, like, hitting the mouse just to log an extra 3 hours, like,
Exactly. And that's what
there's no
you do
reason
in
for that.
office jobs. That's what my
Yeah.
old office job was. And I've just never wanted to go back to
Yeah.
that. So I kind of split my time. I would say, like, you know, I'm probably working my real job 30 hours a week and then
Yeah.
10 to 20 on me. And, you know, that's a 50-hour, 60-hour week sometimes, give or
Totally.
take, add more
Well,
with.
given travel time and all of that stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think people don't always realize, all that extra time that goes into travel, like in the videos and the
Yes.
content creation side, it definitely is a lot. But it's helpful when you have a flexible job and schedule where you're able to
Yes.
work remotely. And do you have to, if you have to take off time for trips, have you ever had to like put in last minute PTO? Like, how do they handle that? Is that fine?
Yes, I definitely have. I did that recently. I had to put in some
Mhm.
last minute PTO because I was going to be in Asia when I saw you in
Oh,
Seoul.
yeah.
Um,
Amazing.
yeah, because that time zone not gonna work because
No.
we're like a day ahead, and then they're still awake in the previous day, and
Yeah.
it's just kind of it wasn't gonna work. So I had to request a week off like 2 days before that trip. Um, and you know, it didn't go over super well, but also I made sure everything was done. I worked over the previous weekend before to like make
Yeah.
sure all my ducks were in a row. So that's another thing. Like I'll work on the weekends sometimes to catch
Mhm.
up on real work or my work, and it is a
Yeah.
lot, and my health has taken a toll.
Yeah.
So I don't, you know, that's a whole other story of it all, but I'm
Yeah,
trying.
the burnout is, like, so real too, though. I
Yeah.
mean, I think I worked what I call, like, my corporate job and the creator job. It was, like, 2 full-time jobs for 2 years, and I finally hit
Yeah.
that, like, burnout point. So what have
Yeah.
you done to help mitigate burnout? It sounds like you're kind of at the point too where you're maybe hitting, I don't know if it's burnout or just that you don't wanna spend as much time working as you are right
Yeah.
now, if it's more sustainable, but, like, what have you realized
Yeah.
in this process?
I think the biggest thing is that over the past couple months, the amount I've been working has been affecting like real relationships in my life. And
Mm,
that's where you start to
yeah,
think, okay, what can I cut back and what opportunity cost is my corporate job having on my potential business and where I could grow that if I even had 5 more hours a week to dedicate to it.
yeah,
And it's just a thing I've been going back and forth on honestly for the past year.
mhm,
And I think, you know, I've definitely hit weeks where I'm like, I can't do this anymore. And that's like the burnout where you're like, I literally am frozen. I can't do anything. And I am the type of person I will go into like a little hermit hole. I will like sleep for a day. I'll binge watch movies, and then I come out of it and I'm like, well, now it's not that busy this week,
yeah,
so I think I can keep doing it. And it's just
yeah,
kind of like a cycle. So for me,
it
some weeks are a lot harder than others, and I really try to remember like this is temporary
mhm,
and take the space for myself if I do have to take a sick day and just vegetate on my couch. Like I am
yes.
not afraid to do that. And I think more people should do that and not feel guilty about it because it always makes me feel better when I do that.
I view them as like reset days because it's just like
Yes.
I just need to like fully reset, power off and on, and
Yeah.
turn it back off and on, and kind of figure out like what I need again, whether that's sleep, working out, watching a movie, reading a book, like cooking. I don't know, but I love a good
Yeah.
reset day too, and especially like when you are working so much, just shutting off your brain, like
For
not
a
having
full
to think
day.
about yes,
Yeah.
where I'm like, wow, I'm not gonna look at my emails, I'm not gonna think about what I
Yeah.
need to post. I kind of did that yesterday because I'd been at work events all last week. We've been
Yeah.
traveling for the out of the
Oh
last
my God,
seven
you've
weeks.
been doing so much too.
We've
Yeah.
been traveling the last 4 out of the past 7 weeks. We've been gone. So then the weeks in between are just like flipping suitcases, doing laundry, getting caught
Yep.
up on PR, mail, whatever, like all the little tasks that you have to do at home, and then leaving again. And it's just like yesterday I was like, I'm back from this trip, and today's like my weekend day.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
I am just gonna reset, do what I need to do, and it was a
And look
very
at you
like
though, you're still working right now.
yeah. Yes, yes. But and like I worked a little bit yesterday too, but it was just like I needed some time where I'm like, I'm not gonna feel guilty about this. Like we need to take that time. And I
Yeah.
think that's one of the biggest things I learned when I was in that period of working both jobs is everyone needs a piece of you at all times. Like
Yes.
there's someone
Yes.
always needs a piece of you, whether it's your corporate job or your DMs or, like and if you're not a creator but have a different side hustle, it might be managing customer service emails or getting your marketing plan together. It just feels like someone's always needing a piece of you and you only have so much to give. So it makes sense too where you're seeing your relationships suffer because you're like, I
Yeah.
have nothing left to give. Like
Yes.
I can't do these things. And then your body starts shutting down too.
Yeah, like what you meant, even the like you said, the DMs thing, it seems like such a small thing, but the amount of conversations that are happening, like it's like the tabs
Yes.
open in my brain, like the
Yes. That's a
DMs,
great way to describe it. Oh my
the
God. Tabs.
emails, the
Yes.
the things I need to get back to my manager about, like
Yeah.
talking to friends, talking to family. Like, of course, everybody has their own version of this, but I think,
Yeah.
and I've learned in the past year to say no a lot more and just to
Yeah.
tell people like, hey, I'm taking the day off. I'll get back to you soon. Or even answering a DM sometime. Hey, I saw this. Do you mind following up with me in a week if you need help again? Because like I can't answer this right now, but I would like to
Hmm.
help you, and just like asking for help, one, and saying, no, I can't do this also.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to say no, but it also like
Yeah.
I find so much peace now that I've learned how to say no a little bit. And you also have
Yeah.
so much more empathy for people when they say no. Like, we
Yes.
were supposed to meet up this weekend. I had a couple other friends I was supposed to meet up with two at different times that just didn't work out because
Yeah.
we are so booked and busy. We're trying to do too much and just things come to a head. And if you've been in a person who's working two jobs or just busy schedules, you can empathize with the fact that it's like, I just
Totally.
can't run from the next thing. Like, I'm not going to be present when I'm here. I'm not going to,
Yep.
be able to be there and have conversation with you because I'm going to be thinking about the next thing that I need to be doing.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I
And I
think that that's a
totally
huge
understand
piece.
that about other people, like you said now too. It's just
Yeah.
like not personal at all.
Yes.
We're all dealing with our own version of it. And we know that we'll make time to see each other again at a certain point when it does work out. You know what I mean? So
Right. And it's like you just have to remember that. And I think, I've, if people are friends with me, if, in real life, people know that they have to like double or triple text me, voice
same.
message me. If you call me, I will answer. Like that is like the easiest way to get a hold of me if you
Yeah.
need something is to call me because I'm like, yes. But people know if you need to text me twice, like it's not personal. I just,
Yes.
especially as a creator, we get so many DMs, emails, like there's so many touch points that the second you start responding to one, well, then there's follow-up text messages. And
Yep.
I'm like, oh my God, I can't start responding. Like I was
No.
crashing out the week
And
that I saw you.
our brains are not meant for it. It's just
Yeah.
it's that thing of like the biology hasn't caught up to the technology. And so that's another thing of like giving ourselves a break. Like we actually physically need to do that because
Yeah.
we're not meant to be answering all of these messages and being in constant contact with everyone.
Yeah, and I think it's also shifted so not only on social media, but I found that even in my corporate career. So like I switched jobs during COVID, so it also could be
Um,
company culture, like of course that's dependent, but like my job pre-COVID, I was traveling a lot for that job and I was in office a little bit here and there when I was probably maybe like hybrid, I guess technically. Like
yeah.
sometimes I'd come in, sometimes I wouldn't when I was in town. And whenever we were in office, like the rule was, computers shut, phones, turned over. Like when you're in a meeting, sorry, I didn't
Yeah.
preface that. When you're in a meeting, phones off, computers shut, like you are focused on the topic at hand. And I feel like I found in COVID that completely shifted. Now
Oh my
you're
gosh.
in meetings and you're supposed to be multitasking. You've got
Yep.
to be, working on your email, you got to be responding to this, working on this. Like no one's actually focused fully 100% on the meeting at hand. And
So
it's
true.
just like our like DMs and stuff, you're being pulled in all these different directions. So now like your corporate work has also doubled because if you're not being productive on something else while you're in the meeting, you are
Yep.
no longer doing enough of your job. Like you're
No, it's
behind.
so crazy. I got a Slack message during this. And I was
Yeah.
like, I'm turning like away, turning that off. Like, I'm not gonna. not that I would on this, but it's the same kind of thing. It's
Yeah.
like a meeting I'm present in, and oh, I'm getting messages that I
Yes.
should respond to and kind of maybe expected to, but no, like I'm not,
Yes.
we're not
I
doing
think
it.
I found that there was that expectation all the time, like that it's
Yeah.
just people expected you to be able to respond and pay attention. It's like, wait,
Mhm.
how am I like I'm not getting paid enough to be four people right now.
No, no, literally that, and that's also kind of why I started to, I guess, justify myself working on my personal brand is like, I'm not getting paid enough to be working this job 60 hours a week. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not. And me making my supplemental income through my brand deals and my company now, I guess, my brand
Yeah.
is like that's putting me at a level where most of my friends who work in tech are at, honestly. But it's like
Yeah.
that my full-time job doesn't pay me that much. It's like fine, but I need to live. I live in LA. Like I can't, and I
Yeah.
think they know that too. It's like, well, she probably deserves more of a salary, but we can't give it to her because we're a startup. And so like
Yeah.
it's
So
just
there's a give and take where they're also maybe a little bit more lenient about the like,
yes. And
they're
I
and
think
you're not being
Mhm.
clocked in like in and out on like your hours. So it's different there
Exactly.
too.
And I think like building trust with your team, if you do want to do something like
Yeah.
this, being super open with them, telling them your goals and like what you need. And I've had conversations with my team, like, look, like last year I was planning for a wedding. I'm like, look, I'm paying for my own wedding and like this is why I need to take this week off so I can do this brand deal. And they're
Yeah.
very open to that and they're very so it's just like, yeah, oh my God, I got another Slack. Did you hear it?
Yeah, I heard
Um
that one actually.
um what? Pause notifications. Okay. So yeah, being open and being trustworthy. Like they know I always get my work done, even if it,
Yeah.
is at a random hour. I always get it done. I've dropped the ball a few times, of course, we all do, but like,
Yeah, we're all human. Who
yeah.
doesn't?
But I think they can trust me, which is also what gives me a little bit more wiggle room. So,
Building that trust is huge. I know I'm going to share like a little tidbit though on my experiences because I think there's pros and cons. I love that you've had a relatively positive experience. It sounds like on the corporate side, respecting your creator side,
yeah.
but I did not experience that at
Oh.
my last job. Once I started growing my brand a bit more, and like I think that they like when they started realizing this is like a serious job, like it's not
Mhm.
just like for fun videos, and they're like, oh, like when I was taking off work to go to Delta events that they were
Yeah.
flying me out for and stuff, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to here with this brand, and like they started realizing like, oh, this is actually like not just some silly little thing she's doing, and it almost
Mhm.
felt like threatening in a way. And I had some very interesting conversations with um someone above me, not my direct manager. She was amazing, lovely, but someone above her, where there was like some threatening conversation around my social media and the perception that it gave. And I was like,
Oh.
how am I supposed to be worried about my perception? I was like, is my performance like, am I
Yeah.
struggling at work? What's my boss saying? Is there an issue there? And because she wasn't part of the conversation, then they were like, no, that you've been doing great at work, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. And I'm like, so what's the problem? Why are we
No.
sitting here then? And I knew I was going to leave that job at the time this conversation had happened. I didn't know when. So it did give me a
Mhm.
little bit more power though of like pushing back because I didn't feel like I had to sit there and like be meek and
Right.
accept
Because
this
you're like, "I'm
kind of
leaving this anyway."
discrimination.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was just like, why are we sitting here? Like, if my performance isn't dwindling, if I'm doing my work and getting things done, why is there an issue that I have a second income stream that is completely different? Like, there's
Separate.
not even,
Yeah.
I was in engineering at a pharmaceutical company doing cancer therapeutic stuff. Like, I was doing nothing related to it. I don't talk about it online.
Right.
And so that was just, I think it's just a hard part of it's so dependent on your job and being on a
It
team that
is.
is supportive, which kind of leads me into the reason why I started going into or leaned into the full time creator career side. And I want to hear about your
Yeah.
thoughts right now because my reason when I left was I knew I wanted to leave this company. I was being mistreated like with some of these issues. There were some other issues that were going on with like the bigger corporation side,
Mm.
and I was just like, I grew to just really despise what I was doing, and I never felt like that before in my
Yeah.
8 years of engineering. And I was with Austin, my now fiance, and he was like, well, why don't you just do this full time? Like, you're already making money on the side, like with this, why don't you quit, and instead of finding a new job where you're going to have to spend all this time, money, energy, and
Yeah.
effort, or not money, I guess, sorry, I'd be making money, but you know, like a
Yeah.
time, energy, like
Yeah.
to try and learn, because like when you start a new job, it is so much
Oh, it's
energy and work to learn all the
training and
systems, and
yeah.
yes, you're constantly going, and you have to build that trust again. And
Yep.
so I was like, he was like, well, if you have to do all of that, why would you do that if you want to pursue this full time? Like, this
Mhm.
is the perfect time for you to leave. Like, we don't have kids, we don't have a ton of additional expenses. Like, we chose to move into my apartment, which was large for Seattle. It was technically a studio. It was like a loft apartment, but it was like
Yeah.
almost 1,200 square feet. So it's a very large apartment. But we chose that apartment over the house he had lived in because it was half the price. I had a really good rent deal on it. And it
Mhm.
gave us that opportunity to like, for me to step away from my career and not have to worry about the finances piece as much.
No, so
And those
nice.
were some of those decisions that we had made. But that was kind of what led me into full time. Was I've been dipping my toe in. I want to see if this can work. I love what I'm doing, and I'm burnt out and
Yeah.
not feeling respected or valued at my current job, and finding a new one just doesn't seem like the best path if my end goal is to not be in
Yeah,
corporate
is to not
America.
even be in that
Yeah.
space for sure.
Yeah.
No, that
S
makes sense. And I also wonder if, the reason why they were not cool with what you were doing is because it was so different. Like that's,
yeah,
people
that's
will ask
interesting.
me like, "Well, how do they not care?" And we kind of touched on that, but I think because it is similar, they understand. Whereas
Yeah.
the job I had before this, after Nomadic Mat, before my current job was a nightmare place. They would not have been cool with this. And I woke up every day dreading going to work, dreading talking to the people. It was like extremely toxic. I got in trouble if a period was like out of place in an email. Like,
Oh my god.
it was crazy. And so
Yeah.
this is why I think I have a hard time leaving my current situation, even though I could for sure be doing full time content creation at this point. I have been in that place where the job is toxic and horrible. And right
Yeah.
now, my situation, my team is really cool. They're my friends at this point. It is super flexible. And so, and the way the world is right now, I'm just like, everything's so uncertain. So maybe I
Yeah.
should keep this other income stream, while I can. And it's just been a big internal struggle too, though. I think there's like a limiting belief of like, can I make this work for longer if I go off on my own and do my own thing? And I've seen so many of my friends do it, and I know I could. I think
Mhm.
there's just this fear of the unknown and of
Yeah.
the lack of stability, even though
Totally.
at this point my creator career seems more stable than my startup career. It's just a whole,
Yeah.
I don't know. I go back and forth all the time, but the biggest reason and the biggest thing keeping me there is because I really like my team and I don't hate the work I'm doing.
Mhm.
If any part of it was like toxic drama, I would have been out so long ago. And
Yeah.
it takes a lot of bravery even to leave a situation like that and pursue the unknown. So the fact that you were able to do that encourages me even more that I could leave a
Mhm.
situation. It's just, yeah, it's hard. It's hard. I also have the
Yeah.
angle of like, I have a job and I travel, and what happens to that angle in my content if I leave?
Totally, because also like another narrative online, which always makes me roll my eyes. I understand it, but it's just like, what do you want from these people? Is when people get upset that creators that they love, they follow them from when they're smaller and they start getting bigger and growing their
Yeah,
accounts, and then they leave their full time jobs to
I
go
know.
pursue content creation online, and then they're like, well, now you're not relatable, and it's like. Okay, well, I'm sorry that they've built this platform and
Yeah,
community and success, and they wanted to pursue it even further because that's their dream. Like, you're
exactly.
like punishing them even though you're the one supporting the, I don't know, it feels
No, and
so
I think,
backwards to me.
yeah, that narrative scares me too because it's like I do want to be relatable, and I think there's so many ways to be relatable even if you
Yeah,
don't have a full-time or not. No, this is a full-time job.
it's a
This is
full-time job. Yeah, a
this is
corporate job. I always
um
refer to it as like my
yeah,
corporate career, versus
exactly.
like my, which you're in a startup, but
Exactly.
like, the
Yeah.
traditional, like I have a job, that pays
Yes.
me a W-2. Also, that's the other way I would phrase, like I have
Yes,
phrased it.
exactly.
My W-2
Exactly.
job.
So there's so many other ways to be relatable. And I think it also just shows, again, like coming back to what I said before, like content creators are normal people. Like we aren't special. Like we were all,
Yes, I think
like everybody's special, but like we're not, we all of it, we just decided to post and keep posting. And
yeah.
we honed in on our craft. And I do think anybody could do it. We've seen people come from the ground up and do this. So, you know.
Yeah. I think that's
Mm.
like so fair that, again, everyone this is we're all normal people, but people do kind of put creators on a pedestal because we're
Mhm.
putting ourselves out there and we're sharing whether it's vulnerability or travel tips or humor or whatever. Like there's just so many levels to it, but it's just like FaceTiming your friend or telling
Yeah.
them like your favorite, beauty things that you just got at the Sephora sale or like things like
Yeah.
that. It's very normal conversations, but we're just maybe either adding text to the screen with like making it engaging, like little
Exactly.
mini films or whatever, or maybe it's just like a FaceTime call style like video, and it is very we're very normal people in that
Yeah.
way. But sometimes I think that people forget that
No,
when we're
totally.
when
And
we're like
I've
in this
been,
space.
yeah, I feel like I did for years. I was like, oh, that's just not something I would ever do.
Yeah.
But
But then
yeah.
like the relatability factor then it's like, okay, well, you're able to go on all these trips because you don't have to worry about PTO. But I think people
Mhm.
forget like there are ways to talk about things like your evolution with travel because it's not
Yeah.
also just like your situation of your job changing, but like even if you
Mhm.
were following the traditional corporate path, your travel style can change with that as well. Like when I was in my early 20s, I was only traveling on essentially work trips that I would extend. I was going on work trips abroad, so that helped. Like
Nice.
they'd pay for the flight. I would go the weekend before, stay the weekend after.
Yeah.
I would stay in hostels on the weekend, lock my backpack with my work laptop to my bunk bed and
Oh my
go
God.
explore around. And obviously I'm 31 now. That's not really the type of travel I'm looking to
Yeah.
do anymore. So
Same.
that evolves and change and you get more
Yeah.
PTO. Like my first job, the first year of that job, they only give you 5 days of PTO when you start out of college.
That
So
should
like
be
I'm like,
illegal. I
yes,
know.
yeah. It was like if you start after April 30th, you only get 5 days. And I was like, "Oh great, I'm starting May 2nd." So
Yeah,
that's perfect.
cool. Like I missed it by a week.
Yep,
No.
I was like, "This is how what am I supposed to do? Just, yeah, twiddle my thumbs." I was like, "I guess I'm not going home for any holidays because I lived in a different state and all this stuff." But I think like people forget that we've also done these evolutions. When you get
Yes.
more PTO, you get higher salaries or you learn about points and miles and you're getting,
Mhm.
business class and that sort of thing. Like those things can evolve even without the creator side. So,
So
yes, you
true.
have more time to be able to talk about it, but I think it helps like when you've worked the corporate job lifestyle before because you get it. Like even planning our
Mhm.
wedding, we're doing a destination wedding. I planned it over Memorial Day weekend so that people have the extra Monday off to fly home
So
because
nice.
of like I know
Yeah.
about the PTO struggle. Like I don't want to make you feel like you
Mhm.
are having to take out too many days PTO because the way I made travel work when I was in
Yep.
corporate was planning all of my personal trips around my corporate
The
holidays.
holidays. Yep.
Like that was exactly how I made it happen. So,
Exactly.
you kind of don't forget those pieces, at least in my experience, either when you leave or don't have it anymore, because you've had to go through that and experience it too
So,
before.
so true. Yeah, I remember reflecting back on my hostel days, and I would still
Yeah,
recommend that. I would still
yeah,
recommend that to people. It's just
totally.
that I need more sleep and comfort now. Like, so I don't
Yes.
travel that way, but I will recommend it to other people.
Yeah, I don't regret a single hostel I stayed at in my
Same.
20s. I actually made my dad stay in a hostel with me. We got private rooms. In
That's
Australia, this
good.
was like,
Yeah, the
again,
private rooms,
b
I would still do that. I would still
yeah,
do a private room.
yeah, like, and those were great. Our biggest complaint was the air conditioning wasn't as high as we would like it, but we like rooms cold. Um,
Oh, yeah, yeah, no, that's always I'm actually nervous because there's a heat wave coming to Europe this week, and I'm
oh,
like, these air conditionings better be working. It's gonna
yeah,
be
and
like
you know they
90
won't be.
degrees. I know. Don't say
Yeah,
that.
make sure
Yeah.
you call down to the front desk and get a fan brought up to the room before it gets real hot and everyone
Okay.
calls.
Wait, so smart. That's
I've
a
done that.
great travel tip right there. I've
Yes.
never thought about that. Okay, I'm gonna do that upon check-in.
I do that all the time. Well, speaking of travel tips, what sort of travel tips do you have, hacks? Like, what's actually, let's back it up. What has been your favorite trip so far and what has made it memorable? I know that that's a really tough question as people who take all different types of trips, but like, or maybe a destination that was unexpected?
Ooh, okay, let's think. I mean, I know I always talk about Japan, but Japan is amazing. I That is like one of my favorite trips I've ever done, and I've been back like 3 times since
Oh
my
my
first
God.
time going. I love it so much. But I'm trying to think something unexpected, actually. I really, really loved Guatemala. Have you been there
Oh,
yet?
no, I haven't.
Okay, I was not really expecting much. I just thought like, oh, it looks pretty, right?
Yeah.
But I got there and I went to Antigua and it is just so beautiful. I had such good food there. It felt pretty affordable and like
Yeah.
the people were not, I just was very it was one of those places that I was like, wait, I need to come back and see more. And I didn't think I was going to feel that way.
Hmm.
So I do think more people should check out Guatemala. It's like right below Mexico. It was only a 4-hour flight from LA. It was not bad at all.
That's like
So I
nothing.
definitely, yeah, I will totally be going back. I need to plan my return.
Do you find back to like the working, do you find working from South America is easier because it is the same time schedule too?
Yeah, that was actually I did work on that trip. And
Yeah.
it was a little bit easier for instant things that needed to happen, but
Yeah.
then I had to like plan my, fun days around work calls. Whereas like
Mm,
my favorite is Europe because I can have a full day and then I get back to my apartment or my hotel at 5 p.m., log on to work and like, I'm gonna be inside at that point anyway, unless, yeah, I don't really go out. So like
yeah.
that's easier for
Yeah.
me.
I think it's easier too, like, as
Yeah.
I've gotten older, like, I'm not looking to go out to, like, the clubs and do crazy things. Like, sure, I'd
Right.
love to go to, like, dinner or something, but also, like, if I didn't have
Yes.
a meeting, I could go bring my laptop and sit and work from, like, a cafe or a
Exactly.
restaurant. So, like, those are some of
That is
the
the
things that
best.
you could do too. Um,
Hmm.
with travel, what's, like, an underrated destination? I know that you just said Guatemala for, like, interesting, but, like, a super underrated, not talked about destination that more people should go to, especially, like, Americans. I feel like we do go to a lot of the same places. Like, every American goes to Japan for the first trip to Asia or
Yeah.
Bali. I feel like, like those are the two spots. Like everyone's going to Paris or London, like in Europe. Like, what are some more just like unique places that you've been to that you think more people should visit?
Ooh, okay. Well, I have to give a shout out to my home state of Michigan in the summer.
Ooh, I went to school
Um,
in Michigan. Did you know that?
really? Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
You went in
Michigan
Midland,
Tech.
but
Oh
okay,
no, I went to school in Michigan Tech and then I lived in Midland after.
yes, okay,
Yeah,
Michigan Tech, the
yeah,
UP, right?
yeah. The
Okay,
UP. Yeah.
because Michigan in the summer is amazing. The beaches on the West Coast. I'm
Hmm.
going to Michigan actually in July, so follow along because I'll show you. It looks like the ocean. It's so
Yeah.
beautiful.
Well,
Um,
because the lake is so huge, you literally like you can't see the other side, so it feels like you're looking at the ocean.
yeah, it's crazy. So definitely in the summer, that's probably the only season you want to visit Michigan, but it is
Yeah.
underrated. The people are so nice. Like it's such a great spot. International underrated. Let me think. I mean, I thought that South Korea was underrated. I didn't really consider going there before, but I
Yeah.
just thought, okay, like Seoul looks like a cool city. I'll go, I'll check it out. And I
Yeah.
loved it. And I think with all the people going to Japan, I think I read a stat. It was like 50 million people are going to Japan every year, and only like half of that or even less go to Korea. And I
Mhm.
think that they're completely different countries. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
completely different everything, but you could have a similar experience in Korea for a lot less money. Korea was so much more affordable than Japan.
Yes.
And I actually liked the food in Korea better. Don't say anything. Um,
Korean food is
so
amazing.
it was so good. So I loved that, and I would recommend that to anyone. I also really want to go back there and see more.
Yeah. I agree
Um,
though. I feel like
yeah,
that's like my hot take is Americans stop going to Japan. Like, not
yeah.
that you don't have to, but like I know and you said you love
There's
it,
so
but
many, and
everyone
Taiwan.
is.
You like Taiwan too, right?
Yes, I've been to Taiwan twice. I love it. Like I
Yeah.
love there's so many other places in Asia. Like Japan is just like so I hate the word over tourism. I don't know why I hate it. It just
No,
feels
but
like
it is right now.
it's
I
like so
think it's
such a
because
buzzword.
it feels like the safe bet, right? And
Yeah.
I think that if
Yes.
people just ventured Taiwan, South Korea instead, they
Yeah.
would fall
Vietnam.
equally as in love. Yes, Vietnam. I
Like
need to go to Vietnam. You said that. I need
yeah.
to go there.
I will say like my tip if you're looking to go to Asia and you've never been before and you're trying to understand like the differences is like the more I would say like I don't know the right word I'm looking for, but like rule following, like orderly, clean, like
Hmm.
areas. If you start north and go further south, it gets more chaotic, and that
Yeah,
chaotic
so
energy
true.
like gets more for like the when you get to like the Bali, Southeast Asia, like
So
you're gonna
true.
get completely different experiences, like the honking and the just like
Yep.
craziness of it, and it feels chaotic to us, but it's very like controlled chaos. It's just like how they
Yes.
communicate and work there. But I loved that's why I loved Vietnam because I felt like it was a good mix between like it was chaotic but not Bali chaotic. But
Yes.
you know, still people were following like a very like orderly system, just a lot more scooters than I'm used to and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But that's my tip if you're like trying to figure out where to go. If you're looking for something that's a little bit more calmer, stay
Hmm.
to northern Asian countries. And if you're looking for
Yeah.
that more like chaotic, carefree, eat, pray, love vibe, go more like
You know
South
what,
Asia.
Janelle? That is so funny because if you think about world geography as a whole, think about Scandinavia, so
Oh yeah,
orderly. And then
that's
you
so
move
true.
down like Italy, a little bit more
Yeah.
chaotic. Like
Yeah. I
then you
never
get
thought
even
about that.
further, you're like in Egypt.
Yeah.
That is an interesting observation. I wonder, I mean, it
That's
has to do something with temperatures and stuff, but
maybe just like the people in the heat or closer to the equator are like a little bit
yeah.
crazier because they're closer to the sun. I don't know.
That's
The energy.
so interesting though, because I feel like that's true of a lot of places. Hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
That
But
reminds
that's
me.
really
Oh,
that
go
was what I was
ahead.
just gonna say. Like, if you're going to Asia and I'm imploring you to go beyond Japan.
Yes.
I do love Japan. I think there's so many places I need to see there. But I agree for like affordability too. Like, if you are trying to just go
Totally.
on a trip and you want to go to Asia, but you feel like you have to go to Japan because everyone's talking about it, it's more expensive there.
Pick
Also
somewhere
because
else.
yeah,
Yeah,
pick
pick
somewhere
somewhere
where
you
there are
can
less
save so much
American
more money.
tourism because
Yep.
like the more American tourists have been there, the more expensive the place typically is
So
because our
true.
dollar goes a lot further versus like Vietnam, you can have like a full meal, amazing meal. The food's amazing and like a couple of beers or whatever and you're maybe spending 6 or 7 US dollars. It's wild.
Uh,
Like
Incredible. No, I have to go. I really, really, and I love Vietnamese food, so very high on my list. The most
yes.
chaotic place I've been to, and this is like a random one. I don't know if I would say it's underrated, but it's
Yeah.
some place that not many people will go in their life. I went to Madagascar in
Oh,
2017.
wait, I
Yeah.
wouldn't have yeah, tell me more about that. What was that like?
I am so mad that video was not a thing back then because I
Yeah.
have like very little video from that trip,
I
which would
feel
have
that
been
way.
so cool.
Yes.
But yeah, super chaotic. The infrastructure is like non-existent there. It takes you 8 hours to go like a short distance on the road because there's very few roads.
Yeah.
But the people were great. I did not have good food there, but I didn't expect that.
Okay.
Obviously the
Yeah.
main pull is like the wildlife, which was incredible. I
Totally.
think there was so many different species of lemur, which was really cool. It was very, very cool, eye-opening trip too. I mean, there's a lot of poverty there, which I didn't realize there's a lot of people that live there. It's not like the movie Madagascar, not that I thought
Yeah.
that, but I think a lot of people might think, "Oh, it's just like an island with animals." No. There's a lot of
Yeah.
people that live there and it's very, it's one of those intense like eye-opening trips.
Yeah.
But it was very cool. It's just hard to get to. I would recommend people go. It's just not an easy trip.
Yeah, and I think that's a good thing to mention too, like with travel. A lot of people are, I don't want to say it's not over glamorized. I romanticize the fuck out of my life as I want
Yeah.
to and should. But,
Yeah.
I think Bali is a very interesting place
Mm,
that you get a lot
mhm.
of poverty right next to five-star resorts and hotels. And so
Yeah.
there's just a lot of discontinuity like between or I don't know, maybe you just see it. It's just like black and white. Like you get
Yeah.
poverty and you can also get these gorgeous pristine resorts and it's kind of a
Mhm.
wild like dystopian
I know it
experience a
feels
bit.
and it feels weird to be on the other side of it too, being like,
Yeah.
"Oh, like am I contributing?" Like I don't know. It's a whole ethical dilemma that I do struggle with
Yeah.
travel a lot.
But
So,
then you go there and
yeah.
the locals, like that's how they make their money is tourism. Like
Exactly.
they
Yeah.
love it. Most of them have
Mhm.
degrees in tourism, like these people that
Yep.
are working, whether they're tour guides, drivers, managers of these properties and that sort of
Mhm.
thing. So I think that is, something to remember too, is like that's how a lot of these
So
places
true.
make their money. So if you're not going, like, yes, it feels weird, but they want to
Yeah.
show you their culture and share these things
Yep.
with you.
It's their
Um,
livelihood. Yeah.
yeah. So by not going, you also like hinder the local people because they don't have
Mhm.
anything else to give. Like these resorts have been built up and they're so happy for
Or
them to be
Yep.
there because otherwise they wouldn't have these types of jobs. So
No, so true. And that's why we support local wherever we can
yes.
because
Oh
you
my
gotta
God.
do that.
Always. Like, find the local shops, the local markets, like, explore a
Totally.
bit, like, go off the beaten path, ask your guides and things for recommendations, like, where they go. Like, no, I don't want to go to like the touristy spot for drinks or whatever tonight. Like, I want to go to like, where do you go for drinks? Like, that's one of my
Yep.
favorite questions to ask
Same.
too.
You. Not like
Yes.
where should I,
I
but where do
go.
you
Where do
go?
you go? Like, I want to go to like
Hmm.
your local watering hole or like
Yes.
your local spot for a quick bite.
Yep.
So, that's kind of like my little thing with travel too. But this conversation has been so fun today. I know you have a flight
Yeah.
to London
I
to
know.
get to, but I have a couple of quick rapid fire
Cool.
questions we're just gonna end with, and then we're gonna close off this episode. So, number one,
Cool.
what's a corporate skill that has helped you most as a creator?
Ooh, okay, corporate skill. Honestly, getting good at negotiating
Ooh,
and not even like negotiating job offers,
yeah.
and that has turned into negotiating brand deals. But also just like negotiating your PTO with my corporate
Mm-hmm.
career. There's so much that has gone into me developing that skill of it's an uncomfortable type of conversation to have,
Yeah.
right? And I think
Especially
it's
as
paid
women, I
off.
think it's a lot harder. Like, we
Yes.
feel like we can't ask for certain things or that we're being too
Yes.
needy and whatnot.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
So
I
I definitely,
felt that way in corporate, and I think over the years I've been like, "Well, no, I'm not gonna closed mouths don't get fed." And if you
yeah.
don't ask for what you want for and what you deserve, then it's never gonna happen.
Yeah.
So that translates into like anything in life, but it has definitely helped in my creator career too.
If you don't ask, the answer is no, is like my
Yes.
favorite life motto to go by.
Mhm.
What is one tool or app that you can't live without? It could be travel, productivity, like what is something that you need in your daily life?
Ooh, okay, tool or app that I need in my daily life. I just downloaded this one's so funny. Have you heard of the app Opal?
Yes. Oh my God. Wait, what is it? Wait,
It
I have a T on that. They like stole a creator's
Oh, is
video,
it
but
bad? Wait, no, is it because they copied a creator, didn't they?
yes, they copied her exact video and script, and she's like a good friend of mine. I met at an event years ago. I don't even remember what the app does anymore,
No,
but
I remember
yeah.
that. Okay, so actually I was using that app until you posted about that. I think that's where I
Yes.
saw it. And they
It was
copied her. It's like a
it was awful, the stuff
productivity.
they did.
It's a
Oh, yeah, of course it
productivity
is.
app that helps you block using certain apps.
Yeah.
So I have been looking for something similar, but what I do now is this helps me in my corporate career that I could not live without is I block off my calendar, like even if it's just like Raimee,
Yeah.
Raimee at dinner, like so that
Yes.
they can't
Take that
get
time away. Yeah.
they
Or
can't
they have to
take
like
that time
ask
away.
you, like, "Hey, I
Yes.
see you've got something blocked off here. Like, can we fit in X, Y, and
Exactly.
Z?"
Like the
Yeah.
calendar blocking, and if anyone knows another app that like blocks
Yeah.
certain apps or whatever, let us know. I'm sure I could Google it.
Yeah.
But I remember that happening, and my friend just texted me today that she was using that app, and I was like, don't use that.
Yeah. Yes, that one's I do agree though, like the time blocking thing has been really good. I've worked with
Mhm.
Tori, her first 100K, and I will sometimes have
Yeah.
like co-working sessions, and we like have like a little timer that we put on where it's like
Yep.
no phones, we just work, and then we'll take a break and we'll like create content
Yeah.
or do something like more fun.
It
Um,
helps so much.
what is a carry-on item that you always bring?
Oh, my Nomad Lane bento bag. I talk about it
What
all the
is
time.
that?
Not sponsored, but
How
it's
have I
my
not
favorite. Wait, do I have it?
seen
I'm
that?
packing like right now for my trip. But
I know the
it's
brand, but I don't know the style bag. What is it?
yeah, okay, it's not the cutest bag to be honest, but it's very, very practical. It has so
Amazing.
many like great compartments for it's like my under the seat bag.
Yeah.
And it's just organized so well. I haven't found another like personal item bag that I
Yeah.
like better. I bring it on every single trip. So
The bento bag, like even the name of it sounds so good because I have a mental image already of like
yeah,
what it could
like
be.
little compartments, but it's not
Yeah.
too many compartments. Like it and it opens up flat like a suitcase so you can like
Oh,
pack
I might
in
need
more
to try and get
stuff.
one of these. This sounds nice.
Oh, they'll send you one for sure if
Okay,
you want
perfect.
one.
Two more questions. What is one thing that you would tell yourself or that you do tell yourself when things feel overwhelming?
Ooh, I tell myself this is not life or death.
Yeah,
Nothing actually matters, and
it's not that serious.
that sounds depressing. I literally say to myself, like, literally, Raimi, nothing matters.
Yeah.
Why? And I call it, it's optimistic nihilism. The fact that nothing matters is actually very exciting, but
Yeah.
that's why you shouldn't take things so seriously because it does not matter.
Yeah, I remember working with a big brand, and that was like one of the brand side person that I was working with. She would like be so, I don't want to say carefree, but just like if you needed to extend a deadline or anything, she's like, it's not that serious. Like
Amazing.
we work in marketing, like it's
Yeah.
okay.
Yes,
Like,
that
you
that.
know, we're
You
not
have to
curing
remind yourself.
cancer here. Like we're not doing, this isn't someone on an operating
Mhm.
table. Like
If only
it's
everyone
fine.
was like that, you know?
Yes, truly, truly. And then, what is your secret to not losing yourself in either role?
Ooh, I think honestly, what has really helped me is keeping my hobbies and other interests that have nothing to do with work or even travel. Because I think a lot of
Yeah,
people, you might even look at both of our accounts and be like, oh, their whole life is travel. And it's like, I actually have so many other interests. Like I mentioned, film and books
yeah,
and TV before. Like I get really into that kind of stuff, and it helps take me away from the world of marketing in general, since that is so much of my life. I think having hobbies and interests that are completely separate has been the thing that has saved me the most. And I kind of want to share about those things more because I'm like,
yeah,
that's not my whole life, but I'm
yeah.
still figuring that out.
Yeah, I feel that. I mean, that's why you've seen I've talk about my sourdough recipes
Yes,
and thrift
I
hauls and
know.
stuff.
I'm like
Yeah.
so inspired by the way that you do it. I need to get over myself and do the same.
You should, because people are interested as like you as a whole person too, and they start
No,
like we're
I
not
always
one-dimensional
forget.
people.
I
Yeah.
know. I'm always like, nobody cares, but
People care,
no.
and I think you also have to train your audience to like kind of expect some of those videos too. Like I
Yep.
posted about thrifting in LA, and people were like, "Can we get a thrift haul?" So I'm like, "Oh
Right?
yeah, don't worry, I'll be filming one." Like now they're used to like kind of
Yeah.
seeing that. So part of that is like training, where it's like you can get this kind of content now. Like you've seen me make
Yes.
it before, so
Yep.
that always
No,
helps.
you're so good at it.
So thank you so much for joining me today on this episode. This was so fun, and like I feel like
Yeah.
this is a really good conversation. This is something that a lot of people, the side hustle culture like has had a really big resurgence, or up. A lot of people are having side hustles, whether it's a creator content
Hmm.
or you're selling stuff at
You
a
need
local
to in
flea
this
market. Yeah,
economy.
true. That is so true. So I think this is such a relatable topic to try and understand how to balance both. But where can people find you, your travel content, maybe more of your film and movie content at some point?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Let
Yeah.
people know where they can find you.
Everything is at Raimee Travel, and I do have at Raimee Film, but I haven't posted on it in a very long time. But at Raimee Travel, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and yeah, that's
Her
my
first name
stuff.
is spelled Raimee, if anyone's just listening to the audio stuff.
Yes.
So,
Thank you.
yes.
Thank you. That's important.
Yes, I have to do that with my own first name sometimes too. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I loved this episode, and I hope you guys love it too.
Yay. Thank you.
Yay. Send this to the friend that you would book that last minute flight deal with, or the one who needs the reminder that it's okay to do things a little differently. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss what's next. And for a first look at next week's guest, plus the real moments that we don't always talk about, follow us on Instagram at OutOfOfficeEra. Until next time, stay a little out of the office.